We'll go right down here in front.
Thanks. Don Jonathan Tannenwald from the Philadelphia Inquirer. I guess I have to start with you coaching against Gino in a national championship game and just get it out of the way. I know you love to talk about your players and your assistant coaches and your staff and everybody else, but you know that back home everybody is going to make this one about you and about Gino, and what's it going to be like for you to go up against him in a national championship game?
I think it's great. I think anytime that you're in this position to compete for a national championship is a pretty big deal. And if you have Philly ties, it's a bigger deal. And you know, Gino has done legendary. He's had a legendary career. He's helped our game grow, whether people believe that or not. He's helped our game grow tremendously. I think a lot of what we're able to do and get is off the backs of their success. I think the people up at UConn treat their women's basketball team as a sport, and I mean they're forced to because of all the winning and all the success. But you could take a page out of their book, and if you invest in it, you know, you could end up having similar success. Actually, not even similar success. Just you could actually scratch the surface and have some success. So it's gonna be cool, competitive.
Question right here from Gene.
Hey, Don, Gene Wong with the Washington Post. Even though you got to Virginia a couple years after Gino left as an assistant, Debbie Ryan has impacted both your lives. Just I'm curious what you remember about, or what you learned from her, and kind of what you take into the championship game, that kind of memories about her, and maybe that influence she had on you.
Yeah, I mean Debbie was great. I mean you have coaches that come in and out of your lives, and for her, Debbie knew how to treat me as a player. Meaning, I was a player from Philly. I was Philly through and through. Didn't really have the fundamentals down pack. I could play. I mean, I could pass. I got flair to my game. I could, I was just a hard-nosed player, one that she didn't try to contain. She allowed me to make mistakes through trial and error. It wasn't like, don't do this, don't do that. She was like, instances. Here's when you can do this. Here's another option. Because I was one that turned the ball over like 5 times a game in my freshman year, and she never said, don't make that pass anymore. Don't. She just said, here are the other options you could have looked at. So I take some of my coaching to a certain degree, and allowing our players to be who they are, meet them where they are, and just take them to where they want to go. And that's the mentality that Debbie was with me.
Question right here.
Jim Suhan, Minneapolis Star-Tribune. You had Lindsey Whalen on an Olympic team when I think you went there on the staff. Lindsey's going to the Hall of Fame. Wondering what you think of her induction, and if you have any fond memories of working with her.
I mean, I'm all for the point guards. Point guards, they make things happen. I did get a chance to, I was part of the staff that Lindsey was on, and she actually was my favorite point guard. So I like how she's wired. I like the fact that she's so inquisitive. Like she's a Hall of Famer, but the questions that she asked, the cerebral, she needed to have a true understanding of what our coaching staff needed, and she was unafraid to ask the questions. A lot of times people think they're just that good, they can figure things out, but she actually wanted to know and didn't have an issue voicing asking the questions to make sure, and that is why she's going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Question in the back, Nancy.
Hi, Don. Nancy Armour from USA Today Sports. Just curious, there are, we've obviously been talking about equity a lot, and today the teams each have 30 minutes here. Your players are going at the same time as you are. Tomorrow, the teams in the championship and the men's tournament, there's no overlap. There's about an hour availability for each team. And that might be a little thing, but I'm just kind of curious what you think about things like that that still are not equal between the men's and the women's tournaments?
Yeah, y'all have an issue with it? Yes. You guys have an issue with it? Then we have an issue with it. I think we should be, available for as much time as needed. Our game needs the connection with our media, and equitable may not be an hour. It may be 2 hours for us, just because of where we are in our sport, and if we want to continue to grow our game, we have to make ourselves accessible to you.
Next question right next to you.
First of all, Dawn, God bless you for saying that. I'm sure we would all be happy to talk to you for 2 hours if you want to stay up here. Dawn, I'm curious about, you look around women's basketball, and a lot of the coaches who have been at the top of the sport have been there a long time, and they're older, let's say. Gino's 68, Tara's 68, Pat, obviously.
I won't be here at 68.
Okay. Well, how do we fix that, though? Because there's not, women's basketball coaches don't seem to be obsessed with climbing the ladder that they are in the men's game. People stay for a long time. Assistants stay for a long time. But there's kind of like a pipeline drought, eventually Gino and Tara are going to retire. Gary retired this year, Vic. Where are the young coaches? Do you feel like you are holding it down for the young coaches?
No, I think our future is bright. I think there are a lot of young, bright coaches out there, and here's where I have to put it back on you all. You got to go find the stories, because they are out there. We just tend to go to, the ones that are always, have been in our game a long time, and obviously you go there because they are historians in our game. And I think and I'm not one of them, I'm not Tara, and I'm not Gino. I just think we need to make people aware, make the media aware of, some of the young coaches out there. I.e., that's why I gave out pieces of the net. So, so you'll get to know who these coaches are and why I chose them. So there are a lot of young coaches who, and the coaching, the landscape of the coaching is changing. I think black coaches are getting more jobs now, more Power 5 jobs. They got to do well, because, we don't really get recycled in other head coaching positions. I do think we need to bring awareness of longtime assistant coaches who haven't gotten an opportunity to head, women's basketball programs. We also have to talk about black men. They don't get opportunities, and they've been in our game a really long time, and it's only in an assistant coach's role. I think we just have to open up and find out who these great coaching minds are, because there's room for everybody. I'm a black woman, so I kind of view it through a black woman's eyes and sight, and it's not anything against any other races, but I see I'm an anomaly. I got into coaching and I had no coaching experience. Somebody took a chance on me because of me being a player. There were much more experienced coaches back in 2000 that could have got the Temple job. And I think sometimes those coaches get upset, and rightfully so. I didn't want the job. There were other people out there that probably wanted the job, wanted to take Temple, to higher heights, but they didn't get the opportunity to do that. We have to find them. It's almost like, those, we're recruiters, so we want to find that, that gym in the back of, that gym in the back of a gym where nobody is, and then you give them a platform to be great. We have to do that, for the people in our game in order for us to advance them.
Next question from Doug.
Hey, Dawn, Doug Feinberg, the AP. I have a two-part question. First one is, how much did you learn, or can you learn from the game you guys had in the Bahamas 4 months ago, which seems like forever ago with UConn? The second part is, you know how tough it is to win a championship. You guys are 1 for 1 on the biggest stage. UConn's 11 for 11, which I mean, that seems mind-boggling that they've never lost on the biggest stage, so to speak. And it said, you know how hard it is to win one, and they haven't lost one when they had a chance.
I mean, the Bahamas game was eons ago. What we take from it, we're going to watch it a little bit because I like the way we were defending. And we can compare what that looks like back in November to what it looks like now. I think we've gotten better, but we did a pretty good job in the Bahamas. So, I mean, we'll look at it, just probably get our players' juices flowing a little bit to see, this is what we did. This kind of effort and more that is going to take to basically dethrone Connecticut and all the things that they've done and the incredible percentage of winning when they're in a national championship game. And then what was your other part of the question?
Just how tough it is. I mean, you won one.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's tough. We're 1-0, so we're 100% too. But it's incredible. This is our 4th time, and we only have one, so it's incredibly tough. It comes down to UConn's had the most experience, so it doesn't faze them to be where they are. Probably a little bit different with this group because they haven't won one. Any person has won one on their roster. For us, same way, haven't won one. So I think we're gonna duke it out. There's no edge, there's no edge. We can talk about the numbers, but the numbers give them no edge. Like, the numbers aren't gonna give us an edge. Like, our season, the great season that we have, is not gonna give us an edge. Tomorrow we got to play it. They got to play it. Because we're not going to be thinking about, he's not going to be thinking about, oh, we're 11-0, let us, we got the 12th one in the bag. And we're not going to think, oh, it's UConn. We're going to automatically win. You can't go into games thinking that way. You got to play. We're going to play off of this year. We're not going to play their history.
Question here in the front.
Thank you. Alexa Philippou with ESPN. How have you seen the chemistry among the guard corps develop just over the course of the season or even their careers at South Carolina?
Our guards, it's pretty competitive. We've had a combination of probably 8 to 10 guards on breakdowns. Like, we got a lot of guards, and I think it's cool that they have a tight bond, they have a friendship, they have a healthy competitiveness, even though, probably a third of them play the majority of the minutes. And I do think the other guards who have to sometimes be the scout team, they really get after it. Like, our starters and our third group, we got 3 groups of teams. They give our starters a really hard time, because they're young. They play with no pressure. And when you have to play with no pressure, sometimes you win a lot of competitions in practice. So they got a healthy competitiveness. They really love each other, and that's why we didn't have any we didn't have anybody going to the transfer portal last year, more so because of the relationships and the bonds that they have amongst each other. This year might be a different story, but we're just gonna play this out.
Question here in the aisle.
Yeah, Don Memori from the Hartford Current. Don, as you mentioned, you saw them in November, and I imagine that you were paying attention to them in January because you were scheduled to play them. When you think about where they were at that time, are you surprised that they're still here? And is this maybe, in your mind, one of the best coaching jobs that Gino's done in a season?
I believe so. I mean, with all the adversity, with all, I know he had a lot of sleepless nights just trying to figure it out. and it's frustrating. You can see his frustration. You can hear his frustration. And then they beat NC State in the Elite Eight, and he was full. And when you're full, you get a little emotional. And I think he thought about where they were. Like everybody probably had them dead in the water, But true champions figure out a way. I think he hasn't really had to pivot a whole lot in his career with the teams that he's had, but he pivoted. He did something a little bit different. He played the hand he was dealt, found a way to keep their head above water, and then they got Paige back. And when you get her back, even if she's 70%, you got to guard her. You got to pay attention to her. And the months that she was out, those other players, adverse moments either gonna bring you together or it's gonna pull you apart. They chose to come together and play like a cohesive unit. And now, it really didn't surprise me that they're here.
Question right here in the second row.
Don, Jerry Brewer from the Washington Post. A lot of great Hall of Fame players, even as they take to coaching, they don't necessarily have the longevity that you have. What's sustaining you? And considering all that coaching entails, would you consider yourself a better coach than player?
That's a good question. I'm a point guard. I mean, I've always looked at the game differently than shooting guard or post player. I've always been able to see the big picture, and I've carried that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's basketball, if it's just life. I'm a point guard, so we're trained to see it all. We're trained to see the big picture, and then my people skills is one that I just try to meet people where they are, not be judgmental. Just meet them where they are, and then I talk to them and figure out what they want, and then we figure out a plan to make that work. And sometimes when you work with young people, you let them talk. I'm not telling them what to do. I'm just listening to them, and then they'll start asking questions. And when they start asking questions, that's when you can really move the chain. So I've done that with teams that I've played as a point guard. And I've found my second skin in coaching. Am I a better coach than I am a player? God. That's a good question. I'm probably a better coach. Probably a better coach. And I say that because I've had a longer career as a coach. That's one. Two, I think my impact is far. Like I can make more of an impact as a coach than I did as a player. So that's your answer.
Question in the back.
Hi, Don. Katie Barnes, ESPN.
So, Katie.
Hey. You were talking about your guards earlier. So among that starting core of Cook, Beal, and Henderson, how would you describe the relationship among those three specifically?
I mean, it's like they just know each other. I mean, they can, and they have three different personalities that just fit. They just fit. And the fact that they've just logged a lot of minutes together. They play like in shorthand, like you can shorthand handwriting. They play that way out there on the court. Like you don't have to say much. You can just point at, and they know the switch. They can give each other looks, and they know exactly what they mean out there on the floor. I don't think the three of them hang out though. I don't think they hang out a whole lot. I think they got different cliques. But what the chemistry they've been able to develop on the court develop quite nicely, and they have a mutual respect for what they do and what they mean to our team.
Question here in the middle.
Hey, Dawn, Claire Hanna with TSN. Yesterday, when we spoke to the players, there was a lot of emphasis on them getting over the hump of the semifinal. One player even called it just relief to get here. But the big pot of gold is tomorrow. You've obviously coached in this final. What do you say to the players to prepare them for this moment to make sure, and how's the vibe right now with the girls?
Yeah. I say what we said all season long: our history over their history, and it's not just UConn. It's just when we played anybody, because when we've lost this season, it was a historical moment for our opponents. For Missouri, it was a historical moment for Kentucky, and we need to choose our history. We need to choose our history. We want to imprint our history in the in the basketball history books. I think we're focused. We're focused, and I'm finding out that our team isn't very good in the morning. Like, we had a practice on Thursday morning, and then we're at the Final Four. I'm just like, yo, let's go. Like, and it was probably one of the worst practices that we've had. And then we had a shoot-around, which was great. Like, shoot-around was focused. It was, clear-cut. And then we executed the game plan. So we're here early, but we're not practicing early. We practice a little bit later, so it gives me a little bit of, relief knowing that it's not at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Question standing in the back.
Hey, Don. Chantel Jennings with The Athletic. You're known as a straight talker, no bullshit kind of coach, and you were that as a player too. Your teammates have talked about how you were able to deliver hard truths, and your players have as well. I'm curious, has that changed when, I guess the way you talk to your teammates, the way you talk to your players now, how is that a skill that you've honed over your coaching career to sort of deliver those hard truths, specifically in those meetings when you tell players, like, you might not be playing this year?
Yeah. I'm a worst case scenario. Like, I would tell it from the worst side. And I just find over my career, players like it that way. They really like it. Like, if you give a player an out, they're going to take it without a doubt, and they're going to flip it, and they're going to see it their way. I deal with, like, young people's goals and dreams, and there's, I don't take that lightly, so I just tell them how it is. I tell the parents how it is, and it's a way that I have had to coach, because I don't want to instill falsehoods in their heads, because I've never. Like, I've had coaches who play head games all the time, and I'm just like, that is kind of puts a wall up with me. Like, shoot me straight, even if you hurt my feelings. Tara used to hurt my feelings all the time. But I use it as fuel. And I know that all players don't use what I say as fuel, but it gets them thinking. It gets them talking to their parents. It gets them hopefully working towards their goal. And I just don't like anything catching anybody by surprise. And I can say that, what you just said, but also have to just, you got to maintenance that. You got to maintenance what you said, because the moment you let up, they'll bring it right back to you. So I just try not to walk a fine line when it comes to, I try to walk a fine line when it comes to just giving them what they need, versus giving them what they want.
Question here from Doug.
Hey, Don, I got another two-parter for you again. They have an open practice for you guys later today. As a coach, I'm guessing you see both sides of it, that you have a game tomorrow night to prepare for, but also this helps grow the game and having fans back, and I would think it's a neat thing from that standpoint. The second part is, you mentioned before taking a page from UConn's book of building a program and such. when you took over the South Carolina job is where you are right now, sort of what you envisioned of leading the country in attendance every year, turning South Carolina into a women's basketball school, so to speak?
Yeah, you find when you come to the Final Fours, you get very little preparation. It's more about growing our game and being celebrated. And if it's your first time coming, you know, you don't know. But now that we've been here a few times, we get our work done before we get here, and then as we progress through the weekend, we figure out what's the most important thing. Like, we got an hour of a closed practice. We're just going to do the most important things. And then the 50 minutes that we have in our open practice, it's probably just going to be just shooting and just free throws and just kind of, you know, I know people like to see the teams that are here, but I think our players like the experience, you know, having people in the crowd and, you know, looking at them, and they deserve that part of it. So we got to grow the game that way. And then when I got into coaching, my number one thing was my number one thing was giving my players an incredible experience. Like, because at Temple, you know, you can say you want to win a national championship, but you don't really know what you're saying. You don't even know what the competition is. You don't know, you know, I wasn't thinking about mid-major, you know, the Power Five. I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about, you know, how I felt after my 4 years of college and what it done for me. And I wanted to do it in a way to create like a winning environment, equipping our players with life lessons through playing the sport. Like, I would not be as successful I am if I did not play sports. Because I learned all of it. I learned how to be a good friend. I learned how to work hard. I learned about what's important. I learned to prioritize. I learned, you know, I probably learned that there is more than life than basketball, because I was all basketball. So, and from those experiences, and then when you win, it makes you more believable, and it makes the players believe in what they put into that winning. And I, you know, I have 2 people on our staff that were part of my first recruiting class. Like, my players are like my best friends now. So it's that type of relationship. They're really good at what they do. Like, they're great at what they do. Like, I'm not a gimme coach. Like, you know, be what you're great at. Like, what you're really great at. And I didn't imagine that. Then when I started just being in the coaching, I wanted to win. I wanted to win a national championship. And then that's why I decided to move from Temple to South Carolina, because we kept losing in the first and second round. And my competitive juices said, you know, I got to get somewhere to where we can out-talent people versus outwork them, because once you try to outwork them and they have much more talent than you do, you're going to end up losing in the first and second round. It's hard to get out of, you know, the first and second round without having talent.
Unfortunately, we have time for just one more question. We'll go right here in the aisle.
Why don't we just stay here for another hour? You know, we got like, okay.
Coach Staley, Lawson Merrill here again with the Daily Gamecock. I wanted to ask, you mentioned the other day some fans had booked their tickets to Minneapolis maybe a year ago or in December. After the team send-off at the hotel, after the crowd presence last night, you know, what does it mean to you personally, to your players, to the program as a whole for this fan base to travel so well and to support y'all throughout?
I mean, it's proud. Like, it's a proud moment. It was like, it's you know, I'm always really, I think about what our team mean to so many people. Like, I know a lot of our fans. Like, I know, like, you know, one of the nurses that cared for my sister when she had leukemia was just diagnosed with breast cancer. So she said, I got my ticket to Minneapolis. I set my surgery for after the Final Four. So she's come here being diagnosed with breast cancer and to enjoy it before the fight that she has in front of her. It is that. And then versus this too. Like I had a fam DM me on my Twitter account. And he's like, Coach, we got to have a fan meeting. This is him. We got to have a fan meeting. We can't cheer when we lose our lead. We got to keep it going. We have to blow this up like it's Colonial Life Arena. And this is what I get. Like, it's they're all in. So I asked him, well, where are you sitting? He said, he sends me a picture. He's way up in the rafters, right? So they can't hear him. So I said, let me get you some tickets lower, and then you can lead the chants in the lower. Y'all don't go near him though, y'all, because he is. Don't go near him. Like don't follow him either, because he's.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you. I can't let y'all know who he is.